Champions, if you're ever thinking, or if you've ever thought about doing something like this, or even something like this, stop. Let me teach you the very mandatory questions that we need to ask ourselves before we sacrifice any champions for food in the process of leveling up and ranking up champions, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. But before we get into any funny business, again, I will ask you to stop right there. Click on the link in the description box right now to get 1 free legendary and 1 amazing epic as you level up. Here are the exact steps you need to follow. Step 1. Log off of Plarium Play on PC and uninstall. If you've never installed Raid on your mobile phone before, this link is gonna work there as well. Step 2. Click the link and register with a brand new email. Step 3. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Step 4, go to your inbox, and here we go! You'll find Bambus here as well as Ugo when you get to level 15. Don't forget to use the promo code Supreme6 to get Supreme Gaelic for free! And play for 7 days to get Alice as well. This is an amazing account start in Raid, you guys, so click on my link right now and follow the steps. Let's get right into tips, you guys. So first and foremost, you're gonna ask yourself, what is the rarity of the champion that I'm trying to feed? So, let's say, you're working with Neldor, who is a good epic champion to take up to level 60. You want to take him up to level 60, but you're gonna ignore the food that you farmed here, and you're just gonna go ahead and you're gonna go,
I don't know, I'm just gonna feed him with some crappy epics, I guess.
First of all, stop right there. If it's a champion with a rarity of epic and above, you really have to consider whether you want to sacrifice that champion for food in the first place. My rule of thumb is I never really sacrifice a champion that is above a rare. At best, it's gonna be a rare that I don't need and don't care. I'm always gonna go the extra mile of ranking up food champions the hard way, getting him up to level 40, level 50, so that then I can feed them in my champions is just rule of thumb. First rule of thumb to remember. What am I feeding to my champion? Am I feeding an epic with an epic? Am I feeding a legendary with an epic? Am I feeding a legendary with a legendary? Absolutely stop. Madness. Madness. I'm kidding, you guys. But all in all seriousness, really don't feed epic and legendary and mythical champions ever. Number 2, you're gonna ask yourself, am I seeing this little blue mark here on the bottom of this champion's card? Because that means that this champion is used for a fusion, you guys. You really don't want to feed a champion that is used to fuse another champion, in this case, especially if this champion is a Lady Mikage, especially if you've ever thought about feeding these champions to any other champion. Stop! The chances of you getting another champion like this is really low. And now, that's my 3rd point. Think about how hard it was to obtain the champion you're trying to feed. Did you pull 3 series of ancient shards to pull yourself Insignia of High Shield? Not understanding what she does, or a warden, let's say. Any epics, any legendaries are hard to obtain. Especially for Mikage, these you're hardly gonna get because you're gonna need to pull void shards. So this last part of the fusion is actually really hard. You have to look forward to it, you guys. If you're pulling shards to get the champions that you're getting and you want to use for food, do a double take. Number 4, think about faction wars, you guys. Think about how many champions you're gonna need to get to this Lydia. Think about how many stars you're gonna need to get to the good rewards down here, and that's your stimuli, you guys. And you're gonna need a little bit of each. Not every faction is gonna progress as fast as every other faction. Some factions are gonna be a lot behind. Some factions are gonna be popping, and there ain't nothing really you can do about it other than keep pulling and save the champions that you have pulled, because sometimes they will come in with that skill that you've been missing on your team once you know how to build a team. And the 5th thing that I'll just note on, if you guys haven't gotten to Cursed City, you're gonna need a lot of champions in here as well, because the conditions for passing these stages are the same. You're gonna need to use only certain factions per stage. And I'm not even gonna mention this final boss here, you guys, but you get the gist of it. You're gonna need more champions, the more the merrier, of each faction, of a bunch of skills, and of a bunch of affinities. Number 6, I lost count, but the Guardian Ring, you guys. Check out your faction Guardian slots. Check out if you have any doubles. If you do have doubles, do not use them for books and plop them in the Guardian Rings for permanent stat increases, you guys. Only applying to the faction and to the rarity of champions that you're plugging in these hexagons. So these bonuses are only going to apply to epics. These bonuses are only going to apply to rares. These are only going to apply to legendaries. So you're going to need doubles. And even if you don't use the champion necessarily to your day-to-day basis, it's still better. Oh, look at this. I can even go ahead and just fill in my slots here. But you don't need to be playing these to book out your faction guardian slots like I'm doing right now. This is food and this is food. So there you have it. Already 6-7 things to consider, questions to ask yourself. Now, one of the last steps you're gonna need to do is consult with the internet. There's many sources out there. Hell Hades knows their Ash, any of the content creators out there, you can watch their YouTube videos, they know their not me, but people out there. Consult with Hell Hades, consult with websites, check ratings, see how they're rated, and even so, read their skills. Get to know what they do. Each champion comes with their own individual pluses and minuses. They all also have damage multipliers, and they're each separate, they're each individual. So one champion will not always necessarily be stronger than another champion just because they're an epic versus a rare, right? Sometimes you're gonna have really strong rares, really strong epics that surpass legendaries and even some mythicals. This is the thing about this game that you should remember the most. Rarity many times doesn't matter. What makes rarity what it is literally its rarity. It's harder and harder to come by epics, legendaries, and mythicals as you progress throughout the game. See, you might be lucky like I am, but overall, do not waste a good epic just because you read somewhere that they're garbage. You know what I mean?
I can't read.
Another very important thing to consider. Champions get buffs and nerfs overall over the course of time in this game, which means that they will increase or decrease certain cooldowns, the percentages. They will tweak a champion's skills based off their performance in the game, based off ratings, I guess based off they're actually watching for performance, and for gimmicks and cheeses. We're trying to patch these out, of course. Otherwise, you can't have people that cheat at the game. It can't really be considered cheating if it's allowed.
I'm Captain Obvious.
So that's why, with tweaks here and there, and with more champions coming out and outclassing older champions need certain buff ups. Sometimes newer champions need a certain nerf, certain decrease in their power because they're overperforming, and that was not the intention. I get all cases, and you should be prepared in all cases. Sometimes people hold on to champions purely for the possibility of them ever receiving an update. Maybe they're gonna buff my favorite champion from 2 years back. There's actually people that rely on this, and they do. Very oftenly, they do buff champions. They also nerf champions though, so watch out. So these are something to consider as well. And now let's ask ourselves the 3 most important final questions. Question number 1. Will I ever, realistically and honestly, build out this champion? Now that you've researched, you know what they do, you know where they're good at. Think, do I have overlapping skills? Do I have better champions for the job? Do I have someone from another faction that outclasses? Right, think of it rationally, you guys. Not necessarily do you have to take all of this advice that I'm giving you now and even listen to it, take it under consideration. You can do absolutely whatever you want, right? I'm saying that you'll have a higher chance of, progressing in multiple stages of the game and getting better rewards, more rewards, if you just have a variety of champions to work with, But if they take up space in your vault, what I mean to say, am I gonna build out this champion? Is there a better option? And am I just being a hoarder? These are all grouped up in this question, by the way. Question number 2, do I need to do this right now? And what I mean by that is, do you have the time to go down champion training, campaign grinding, farming for food? Do I have the energy to do that? Do I have the money? Do I have the gear to build out this champion? But most importantly, is there a tournament active? If there is nothing active and you are just leveling up a champion and you're just using food, you're just being reckless, homie. You're just being reckless. You can get good points for leveling up 4, 5, and 6-star champions during champion trainings, clan versus clans, and in case there is a tournament. And now you've completed all these steps, you've gone through troubleshooting, and you've been like, yeah. I think I'm just gonna sacrifice this Yaga as a food champion, and honestly, I can't blame you either. Even though it's good to consider whether Yaga might get a buff, and a lot of people are holding on to Yaga for that reason. For that matter, I did a mistake. I made a mistake, and that's why I'm I gave you this tip, you guys, because I fed my Yaga. I fed a lot of epic champions, actually. 2 epic champions. But we all live and we learn, you guys. And I'm happy to be sharing this with you today in the form of a tip, in the form of something that I will never ever do again. And that is why leveling up champions up to level 60 is a grind. It's a hassle, but you gotta go through it, man. And now, with the upcoming multi-battles, it should be even faster to level up your champions as long as you have an XP banner. Go down Minotaur, you guys. Just run a few multi-battles. Sell all your gear that you get there. Get a little bit of extra cash. Get a little bit of extra levels on your champions. It's always the best way to level up champions. And just watch what you put in your champions' bodies. Treat this like a gourmet experience. Handpick their food from the best tree in Raid Shadow Legends, and namely Brimstone Path. But the best looking tree with the best looking fruit. And here's how you make tournament points, right? You have your 5-star, you know, food champ here, and you're gonna put a few brews in them. At least 4 or 5 is my rule for like 5-star food, and that's gonna give you a bunch of points. I really don't want to show you because I'm saving this guy for some of the next champion trainings, but I'm going to show you with the lower level, you guys. Lower level champion here. I pulled this Arenius recently, and I'm going to do just the same with her. I'm just going to put like 3 brews in her, and that is how many points? It didn't give me how many points. That's because the champion training is ended. But that is the reason why. How did I get an XP banner? Never mind. But that is how you do it, you guys. And you just go to all of your champions before you feed them into your champions. Make sure to put a few XP brews in them if there's a champion training event. And I hope you found this helpful, enjoyable. I hope you found this video on time before the fusion starts and you start upgrading champions left and right and feeding left and right and you don't know what you're doing. Watch this. I hope that made a little more sense in the long term as well, and it's sinking in. I hope to catch you guys again in the next one. Bye!